construction laws ensure that buildings are not just structures, but also safe places for people to live in. On today's episode, we are discussing construction laws. I am joined by a seasoned lawyer who will give a chance to introduce himself. But welcome to Building Better Homes. Here we empower visionaries to build it right. My name is Yvonne Katzo. Thank you so much, Mr. Festus, for being with us. You can introduce yourself.
Thank you, Yvonne, for this chance. My name is Muteti Festus. I'm an advocate of the Airport of Kenya, practicing in the firm of FM Muteti and Kama Advocates, where I'm serving the managing partner. One of our areas of practice is construction law and real estate. So these are topics I'm glad to share with you.
Yeah, that's very nice, and thank you for having us. Now, just getting into it. We are assuming that we're speaking to somebody who knows nothing about law.
Yes.
What are these construction laws?
Okay, so construction laws are quite broad, and maybe I can start with a few of the major statutes. The first one is the Physical Planning Act. So this one sets out zoning policies, like you know that in this structure, in this area, you cannot go beyond this number of floors.
Okay.
So there is the Physical Planning Act. Then it also says the use of land. You find that maybe somewhere in Kileleshwa, that's purely residential. Somewhere in CBD Nairobi, that's commercial. Yeah, so there is that order. Still, there is what we call the EMCA, the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, which sets up the NEMA. You know, the body which is in charge of most of the environmental issues. NEMA. So that's one of the major laws we have. Then still, we have laws like the Water Act, because it's part of the environment. Yes.
Yeah. Now let's assume one wants to build a home, or probably right now in the market, most people tend to buy already built houses and all that. If I am a client and I have no idea about these laws, where would I go to get to understand that the building that I'm about to buy to begin with has followed the rules? Or how do I get to know that, where I'm getting to build a home? Who do I go for advice?
Okay. So basically, when you want to set up a building, there are a few professionals you should engage. The first one is, of course, a lawyer. A lawyer will do the due diligence. Then you'll need to get an architect for purposes of the structure.
Yeah.
Yes, the structure. You'll also need an engineer for that. So basically, you'll need a few professionals, but for the integrity of the building, because maybe the focus of someone may be the integrity of the building. So you need to focus more on an architect, an engineer, and a quantity surveyor. Yes.
And when it comes to getting all the permits and all that, can you give us a slight idea of how one can get into that process of getting permits in terms of wanting to construct?
Yeah, so what the issue of permits is, there is also another professional I left out in the previous question, a physical planner. It's very important because they will assist you in all this, maybe in handling issues of physical planning and the use of the property. So the issue of obtaining the permit. So work permits are ideally issued by county government. It's a preserve of the county government. You find that other bodies like NEMA, NCA, National Construction Authorities, they are regulated, they oversee. But the issuance of permits and licenses is a preserve of the county government. So you make application in the prescribed form. You find that there are the prescribed forms for each permit. So what you do, you make your application. Of course, it will be accompanied by basic documents like you need to show that you are the owner of that property.
Yeah.
You need to show a copy of that certificate of title. You also need to show an official search of that property to show that currently you are the owner. You also need to show what are you are drawing in terms of the structural drawings and all that. So basically, permits are obtained at the county government offices. Then you make an application in the prescribed form. Then with the attachment which the county government will prescribe.
Okay. Now, talking of regulations, what are some of the environmental regulations that one should have in mind or consider when it comes to construction, and of course regarding them?
Of course, the principal regulation which you focus whenever you want to do a development is under the Environment and EMCA, Environment Management Convention Act, which sets up NEMA. We call it Environment Impact Assessment, Environmental Impact Assessment. Right? So each time you want to set up a building, let's say you want to set up a building in Nairobi, CBD Westlands, the first thing you do is to submit an environmental impact assessment report from them. So you'll show the extent which this construction or the impact which it may have on the environment. Of course, if NEMA finds that the impact will be too much, then it will tell you change the user, change the plan, or even it won't authorize the construction. Still, there will be issues of pollution, noise pollution. That's why you see some buildings are covered around because of issues of pollution, like in this one, dust control and all that, the particulate matter in the air. So you need to focus on that. So you also need to, if there is a discharge of waste, you also need to get permits for discharge of waste and all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, talking about it, people might assume or might think it's, oh my God, these are a lot of permits and regulations that are there. But what are the penalties of non-compliance to such construction laws?
Yeah, of course, there are penalties for non-compliance, and they are very stringent. The penalties, they may be in form of fines, prison sentences, or even other things like, maybe just start with, for failure to present an environmental impact assessment report, you can be fined up to 2 million or even serve 24 months in jail. Still, the county government may stop that process. There may also be a demolition order if you don't comply. Still, there can be a demolition order and a remediation order that you have demolished, remedy the situation, return the environment where it was before you came. So, compliance is very key in construction. Yes.
And who are the local authorities that take charge in terms of making sure that the construction rules are followed, and obviously maybe even pursuing those who are not compliant?
So you find that each county government has a department, and you see, at the national government we have the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning. So that one, there is a trickle-down effect to the county government. They still have such a department. So there is a department, these officers who are dedicated to that. So they arrest people and they can charge them in court. I have presented so many people in environment-related matters like pollution, discharge of waste, and sewage and all that.
Now, when we talk about construction, I'm pretty sure in Kenya or many parts of Kenya, when you pass by, you see constructions happening and you see workers are doing. But what exactly are the safety measures provided by the law for the construction workers as well?
Of course, you see, whenever you are doing construction work as a developer, or even you are doing it as an individual, you need to be aware of the risk which may arise on account of that construction. So you need to take some measures to avert some negligence claims. So you need to ensure that your workers have safety gears, and of course all the other compliance issues are there, like there is noise pollution is guarded and all that, Then you also need to take an insurance cover.
Okay.
Yes. Issues of workman's compensation. You have to be aware that if someone gets injured during a construction, they can sue you. But now they are not suing, and what we call the Directorate of we call them a Directorate of Occupational Safety. So currently, if you get injured maybe in a site or a workplace, you don't go to court. You go to the Director of Occupational Safety. So you need an insurance that in the event that you are sued, you have a cover and you won't pay from your pocket. Yes.
Are there any new amendments that have done to the construction law in Kenya?
So the current one now, for the period between 2019 and 2022, there were so many collapsing buildings. So what happened that we passed the National Building Code of 2022, which regulates the entire spectrum of construction. So you find that there's regulation on the quality of materials, there are regulations on how to handle waste. Basically, there are regulations on every area of construction.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, speaking of collapsing buildings and all that, of course, over the years we've seen such, and some are residential areas. Actually, most are residential areas. From a local Mwananchi, I mean, from a common Mwananchi, where do I go to claim maybe compensation or something if I'm renting a building and it collapses? Obviously, I was not there. I was not part of the development and all that.
Yes.
So, as a local person, where do I go, or what do I do? What steps do I take?
So, of course, when a building collapses, the first thing you do, if you are injured or one of your relatives passes on, the first thing you report the matter to a police station, so you get an OB and a police abstract. Then from there, you can only claim on account of negligence. So you go to court straight away. So if you suffer injury, or maybe someone is dead on account of
the building
collapsing, then you follow the proper channels. Then of course you go to court. You can sue the owner of the building. Go even to the extent of who was the constructor, who was the engineer. You can have anyone who maybe on account of the investigation which will be done later was blamed for that negligence.
Okay. Now, talking of construction, can you explain to us maybe the gaps or challenges that are there? Because obviously there must be maybe some challenges in enforcing the law, or maybe if there are any gaps in the construction.
The first challenge is there is a lot of understaffing in most of the offices, which are other departments which are handling construction matters. So you find that they are overstretched and they cannot handle most of the issues, so they cannot cover their own range. Then you find that the other thing is, which is a very serious issue, is bribery and corruption. So we have a very serious challenge, because one day you find a building has been crossed, tomorrow you find that it has been rectified. You wonder what happened. Yeah. So there's a lot of bribery. Yes.
Yeah. And now let's assume I'm a developer, or I want to build a house, and residential obviously, and maybe a big project that I'm doing, and it happens that in the process of building, something went wrong, and I was not aware. Let's say I was not aware. Who do I sue in that case? So
you find that when you enter into a construction contract, a construction contract may be either a built only or a design and build contract. So there is what we call a defect liability clause. So that which say that upon handover of the apartment or the building, the owner, or rather the person who is the beneficiary of the building, has like 6 months or 12 months to observe. If he or she notices any defect, then that would be a liability on the part of the developer. Yes, so there is that one. Let's say that even that period has lapsed, and you find that there are serious integrity issues, which, whether you notice or not, we are arising from or rather where can be blamed on negligence on the part of the contractor or the engineer and all that. So then, regardless of the defect liability clause, we can proceed and sue them even after 3 years.
And now, when we talk of housing, most of the normal rental housing, people really don't think about the law. They just find a house, they find the agent, and they pay deposit and rent, and they get it. But from a law perspective, what tip can you give someone who's looking into, even just renting a space, whether it's for high end or not high end? What tips should I be looking out for?
Okay. In terms of renting or purchasing?
Renting. Okay. In terms of renting.
Okay.
Yeah, like let's assume I want to rent a house.
Yes.
In the normal way we do things, you just go and you get a contract. Some don't even really read the contract. They sign, they pay deposit, and story closed. But what are from a law perspective, what are some of the things they should look out for?
Okay. So when you are renting a property, the first thing, of course, is to verify that this person has the right to rent this property to you.
Yes.
Is the owner or authorized agent. Then after that, you should insist there must be a tenancy agreement. That's the only document which will protect you in case of anything. This is a document which will state the period will be there, the mode of termination, when you have your deposit. Is it possible that you can utilize your deposit on account of rent for the last month? So basically you verify the ownership, then ensure that there is a contract document protecting your rights.
And currently, Do we have any laws that are guiding, let's say, homeowners or landlords specifically in probably the amount of money they charge for renting of places and all that? Is there any regulation that regulates how much money you can charge for such apartment and all that?
Yeah, of course we have that law. Is a 1990 law, so it has not been amended much. We call it the Rent Restriction Act. So it sets boundaries on what rent can be charged for this area and this area. But from my assessment as a lawyer and how I've interacted with the Rent Restriction Tribunal, it has not been effective, because now they still talk about 2,500 shillings, yet we are in the region of 60,000 in most of the areas. So it's not in tandem with the law, but there is law, which I don't know whether maybe most of the lawmakers are not incentivized to look at it, or they are beneficiaries of the unamended law. Yeah, they are benefiting from it.
Because actually, from my research, for example, you see other countries, they charge per size. They say if your house is 20 square meters, this is the amount of rent you should charge. If it's less than that, it's this. If it's more than that, it's this. So that also protects the citizens, because they're not able to be, manipulated by homeowners and all that. Is that something that you think we should consider in our Kenyan construction laws?
That should be happening. But maybe even to mention one thing. So right now, let's say you are landlord somewhere, you cannot change the rent overnight. You have to submit the application for changing rent, and it has to be approved by the relevant authority. So there is that law, but we need to have it revised to match the current standard and the prevailing standard in the country. Yes.
Okay. What advice would you give to developers and constructors, especially in terms of law?
Developers, you see, if you're a developer, the only thing you'll be looking forward is to ensure that you are not at loggerheads with law. So the first thing is compliance. Then the second thing is engage other useful professionals. Like if you're an engineer, have an architect you are working with, have a lawyer you are working with, have a physical planner you are working with. That way, then of course other things like insurance, have insurance and all that. So basically be on the watch to ensure that the risk on your end is minimal or none.
Well, I think by now you've learned few laws that you should consider, or you should put in consideration before owning a house, or if you're already in the middle of the process, these are things that you should be aware of. Well, thank you so much for watching. This is Building Better Homes. I'm your host, Yvonne Kadzo. In case you have any questions, make sure to share with us. Thank you.